Nioh 3 isn't just a reskin of Nioh 2 with a few new weapons and enemies, it's a full evolution, which will completely change how you view the franchise. From the combat to the progression, the world building and even the loot system, everything has had a huge overhaul and lots of quality of life additions and improvements. So today we're breaking down the top 10 game-changing features that will make Nioh 3 your next favourite Souls-like, and far more than just another Nioh. Number 1, the revamped loot system. Though the amount of weapons and armour you loot per hour is still on par with Diablo, those among us who are put off by this statement need not fear, for there are many new additions that have been implemented to make this system more friendly and easier to use than ever. For your armor, you can simply use the new auto-optimize gear button and select which gear weight you would like to wear, light, medium or heavy, or as Nioh calls it, agility A, B or C. It will then automatically equip all 5 body pieces for you that are the most powerful according to your selected preferences. The trade-off with this system is you're not always necessarily equipping the most efficient secondary stats and skills, things like additional break damage or your mid-stance key recovery, but these additional stats are very negligible until you get deep into New Game Plus or beyond, meaning that unless you're an absolute hardcore min-maxer, gear management now takes seconds instead of hours. The same is also applicable for weapons. Just sort by the highest damage and stick on your highest damaging weapon of the weapon type that you prefer. This is all that's required, unless you want to really finesse the hell out of your build when you're trying to complete the optional endgame boss rush challenges. Please note, I'm just giving you an example of endgame content based on Nioh 2. They aren't necessarily in the game, but they probably are. Number 2, new exploration and traversal mechanics. Alongside the open worldness of most of Nioh 3's missions comes a whole host of new movement and travel options, which has allowed Team Ninja to give us more freedom than ever to tackle situations in any way we see fit. You can now double jump, allowing you to more easily climb terrain. Stealth plays a bigger role than it did in Nioh 1 and 2, and you can even crouch. Also, to avoid long, tedious walkbacks, you can even fast travel, and there's now a dedicated run button instead of having to hold down the dodge action. This is just the tip of the iceberg when talking about the new movement options granted to players in Nioh 3 to really help it stand out. Number 3 is Streamlined UI. This is one of the more divisive changes, and I'll leave it up to you whether you prefer it or not, but please do note that quite a lot of what you see that you might not like is customizable. Basically, all notifications and pop-ups can be turned off, and the UI has been intentionally cleaned up so that you can focus more on the action. A lot of people don't like this at first, stating that it's lost the Nioh soul and it looks more like a generic RPG now, which if you are just looking at the color scheme, especially things like the HP and key bars, I do kind of agree with. But I think part of it is probably that we've gotten so used to the Nioh 2 UI, and it is a good UI, and it's one that we've played with for years now. So now that that's been completely revamped, it's a bit jarring. The new one could be better, but I do think most people will warm to it over time. Number 4, better onboarding for new players. If you haven't played a game in the Nioh franchise before, and you're worried that it might all be a bit too much, as Nioh is, after all, one of the harder Souls-likes and one of the more complex, fear not, for Nioh 3 features a proper tutorial for new players, and it does this in 3 main ways. Firstly, as to not break immersion, there is a dedicated dojo that will teach you the fundamental mechanics of the game. There's also a gradual introduction of mechanics as you progress through your first playthrough, with the majority of the first new game cycle serving as one gigantic tutorial, preparing you to become your best self and a total badass by the time you unlock the awesome stuff in New Game Plus. And finally, the game encourages players to read everything by explaining some systems through in-game descriptions and tutorials to help you fully understand how stats, special effects, and various other items work. Number 5, brand new skill system. Another change to combat is that some of your character's power now comes from skills, again offsetting the need to min-max your gear. You can think of skills kind of like skills in Final Fantasy IX or Lumina's in Clair Obscur, in that you now have a numerical capacity with more powerful skills requiring more of that capacity, and you will expand this over time. As you explore the world, you'll be finding more and more skills that will benefit your character in many, many ways. Just to give you two examples, some of them will increase your dodge windows and parry timings, and some of them will just give you straight up damage percentage increases, and everything in between. Nioh's 2 skill system is also still in the game, and this is now called martial arts. Each weapon has a martial arts tree, and again, exploration is heavily rewarded as you'll find new skills to assign to your weapons in specific locations throughout the world. Number 6, Samurai and Ninja Style. I won't lie to you, I detested this at first, especially because you can't key pulse or stance switch in Ninja, though you kind of can when you find the correct abilities. At first, it felt like we were being forced to choose which half of our character we would like to play, and it did not feel good to me. But if we're being really honest with ourselves, I think this mostly stems from playing a game that feels immediately familiar, and feeling like we should already know how to do everything with our eyes closed, but then sucking at combat because combat is wildly different and there's a lot of new stuff to learn. In fact, as I say, you can learn how to key pulse in both stances, and having your tanky, powerful, stance-based samurai be separate from your evasive, utility-focused ninja means that both of these combat styles can go even further, giving you more options than ever before, and the ability to switch between 2 entirely different armor sets and weapon sets, meaning you're now more prepared for a wider variety of situations. Number 7, Living Artifact. The yokai shift form from Nioh 2 is gone, and has been replaced with a new and improved version of living weapon from Nioh 1 called Living Artifact. Though fans of yokai abilities shouldn't despair, because you can still use yokai abilities in the form of Onmyo talismans, and the new Guardian Spirit and Living Artifact feature more than makes up for it. Just to name a few reasons why this system is so fun to engage with and so powerful. Firstly, your anima is just tied to your soul cores to allow more frequent use of your anima abilities, because then the Guardian Spirit uses its own separate Spirit Force meter. When you activate your Living Artifact form, you will merge your Guardian Spirit with your weapon, allowing you to use powerful combo-heavy attacks, and also rapidly filling up your Spirit Force meter to use even more powerful skills and abilities. Number 8, Deeper Character Customization. For the Fashion Souls fans among us, myself included, you'll be happy to hear that not only are there more hair options, more accessories, and more choices for your character than ever before, but you can now even create a separate appearance for both samurai and ninja style, meaning even more variety and even more unique looks for you to show off to the fashionistas in your life. Number 9, Crucibles. If you come across a Crucible as you're roaming the world, make sure you are prepared before you even consider entering. Crucibles are one of the things I'm most excited about in Nioh 3. They are dangerous, corrupted realms found across the land that act as intense challenge dungeons with tougher enemies and some nasty mechanics like a life training debuff. Think Chalice dungeons from Bloodborne. And if you do manage to beat the boss, destroy the Crucible shards, and purify the Crucible, you'll be granted with some very incredible rewards, such as powerful new skills and weapon abilities. It is said that each Crucible dungeon will be around the size of a standard Nioh 2 mission, so this game's gonna be huge. And finally, number 10, new weapon sets and enemy attacks. Even though many of the weapons and some of the enemies we have seen before in previous Nioh titles, almost all of them have brand new attacks, some with completely different movesets, to make sure that even the returning features will feel fresh and new. And that's it for the top 10 biggest changes coming to Nioh 3 and why you should get excited. With that, my friends, all that's left for me to say is thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.